Good morning, all. Uh, Myself, Architect Nanan Pande, working as assistant professor in School of Architecture, COET Akola. So, welcome to this 4 weeks faculty development program on pedagogical methods for outcome-based education system. So, today I am dealing with inclusive planning and universal design. So, this is for the disability which nowadays dealing with very um, crucially where the disabled person can approach to the public spaces. So let's start. So for whom do we do, why do we do, what do we do, and how are we doing? So for whom we do, the vulnerable populations like the persons with physically disability or person with sensory disability or the persons who is having intellectual or hidden disabilities like autism, older persons, women, older persons having the disability of due to the aged, women's having some personal issues, and young children's. So vulnerability and the world. So where in the world, 16% of the populations or about 1.3 billion people live with a disability as per the World Health Organization report. So according to the UN Development Program, 80% of the persons with disabilities live in the developing countries. Women with disabilities experiences exclusion and are highly disadvantaged on account of their gender and their disabilities, disabled word. So this is the disability and the poverty. So 50 to 75% lower employment rates for disabled. 15% of the world's population experiencing some form of disabilities. 80% of disabled people live in developing countries. Means the scenario is changing depending on the conditions and the space where the people are working. Maybe these are disabled or normal persons. Then one third of the 58 million children's out of school having disabilities, and 174 countries have ratified the UN Convention on the Rights of Person with Disabilities. So as per the census 2011, the population of the persons with disability in India is 26.8 million, that is 2.221%, and 14.9 million men with disabilities as compared to 11.9 million women with disabilities in the country. So the total number of percentage disabilities over 18 million in the rural areas and just 8.1 million in the urban settings. So that means we are having more disabilities in rural areas considering to urban areas. So then elderly population in 2021, approximately 10.5% of the India's population was age 60 and above. The number is projected to increase to 20.8% by 2050. Means it is considerable. The disability population is increasing day by day. So that's why we have to think for the special people which is having a the special characters. Not we are not considering as a disabled person, not called as a disabled person, but we can treat them as a specially abled person. So that's why we have consider like as we are. So the individual benefits are physical, reduction of pain and physical discomfort, reduce injury, independent navigations and task performance, psychological, feeling of security, feeling of self-worth, and social, no stigma, better family and social acceptance, and economically more job opportunities. Because as we are uh, treating them as a special person, so we have to generate the job opportunities, means we have to make stable them economically also. So that's why we have to create more jobs opportunities, reduce health expenses, and reduce travel expenses. Then national benefit, better quality of life for all citizens, reduce accidents and increase life expectancy, improved HDI, decrease crime rate, economic increase in workforce, better business atmosphere, increase in GDP, reduction in welfare budget, and increase in tourism. So what do we do as doctors and therapists can study the case of the patient, what type of disease or disabilities or she is having, and then he or she can uh, provide a solution in the form of prosthetics, wheelchair, etc. As the photographs is showing, identify the type of sensitivity, severity of the disability through screening. So the doctors are going to be screen the patient, study the patient, and identify the disability, and that disability can be converted into a uh, specialty of that particular person's. So it may be, suppose the person with which is not having the hands or legs, so it can be provided in the form of prosthetics, or person which is not able to walk, then it can be uh, treat or live her life, his or her life, with the help of wheelchair also. So that is the solution from the doctors or therapist. But and doctor ensures the preventive health to avoid complications or secondary disabilities. So these are the this can be the provisions made for the person which is having a single leg, so that another leg is can be uh, artificial. And the therapist address emotional well-being, self-esteem, and mental health. So these are the photographs which are showing the possible solutions from the doctors and therapist. But what architects do, they do to create buildings and environments that follow accessibility standards. Example, ramps. So see, this photographs is showing the steps for the normal persons, with at the same time it can be provided with the help of ramps also. So then means both persons can access the building with these provisions. So steps and ramps can be provided to reach out the spatial persons. So this can be the solution from the architect, because architect are not the doctors, so they are not going to be remove their or provide solutions for their disabilities. But it is architects can provide solutions for the spatial persons that can access with these disabilities. So ensures barrier free environment, it can be a barrier free environment. So these ramps is having a railing that can easily access the building. And these are the signages, that signages are very important to provide a way to the persons from where it can be accessible. See, the bus are also provided with a board which can be at the height of footpaths. So nowadays the buses are designed in such a way that the persons is having a disability and can travel with the help of wheelchair. So it can be accessible from the footpath directly to the bus. So that's why these doors are to be provided in the buses, and also the handrails. So definitions on disability according to Census of India 2011. So code 1 is a person for in seeing. A person may be considered as having disability in seeing if she or he cannot see at all, has no perceptions of light even with the help of spectacles also. Means simply we can say it at it, the persons is having a blindness or partial blindness. So what can be the solutions? It can be provided a tactile flooring, maybe access guiding, means path access guiding, because nowadays we generally observed in railway stations or many of the buildings where special texture tiles are to be provided, that is having dot dotted textures, and the dotted textures indicates you have to take a pause and take turn. Okay, and there are similarly there are also other tiles which is having a guided lines. That lines indicates you have to travel in through these directions, so that their sticks can give them directions where to go and where to pause. So this may be the solutions. Then code 2, disability in hearing. A persons may be considered as having a disability in hearing if she or he cannot hear at all, or has a difficulty in hearing day to day conversational speech, or if she or he was using a hearing aid. Then disability in speech. Nowadays there are the doctors which is having a speech therapist specialty. A person will be considered having a disability in speech if she or he was above the age of 3 years and cannot speak at all, or she or he was unable to speak normally on account of certain difficulties linked to speech, that is a disorder, or able to speak in single words only and was not able to speak in sentences. Then disability in movement, that is the major challenge for architects. So what can be the solutions for these particular disabilities, which can be indicated as a code 4? A person may be considered as having disability in movement if a disability of bones, joints, or muscles of limbs leading to substantial restrictions of movement. This would cover a persons who do not have both arms, that we already discussed with the help of photographs. Then are not having both legs, or we paralyzed and were unable to move, or were unable to walk but crawl to move from one place to another, were able to move only with the help of calipers, wheelchairs, tricycles, etc., having acute and permanent problems of joints, muscles, lost all fingers or toes. So this can be the disabilities which can be considered in the movement. So why do we need to study these? According to the census 1981, which was did and considered fund these disabilities, only the physically handicapped persons were enumerated as follows: totally blind, deaf, and orthopedically handicapped. Then the census can be revised in 2001 and identified these disabilities in seeing, in speech, in hearing, in movement, and a mental. So in 2001, there is another disability found, that is a mental. So according to 2011 census, three questions covering the following categories: in seeing, one; hearing, two; speech, three; movement, four; mental retardation, five; mental illness, six; and any other, seven; multiple disability, eight. So eight at the rate is the combination of maximum three types of disabilities included. So after the census 2011, the physically handicapped persons, which we called as a disabled person, mm, now the definitions of disabled person can be changed. We cannot call this as a disabled, but we can call them as a specially abled person as per Government of India regulations. So nowadays we cannot be called as this person is a disabled person, but this person is a specially able person having some speciality which is different from other persons. So that's it. Then the definitions of disability: a person with benchmark disability with not less than 40% of a specified disability, where specified disability has not been defined in measurable terms and includes a person with disability where specified disability has been defined in measurable terms as certified by the certifying authority. Means the disability can anything. It can be a partial blindness, it can be a hearing disability, any other. Then the second one is the person with having long term physical, mental, intellectual, or sensory impairment. Means in this case we can call it as a person which is which who lost their mm, uh, part of the body due to in the accidents or any measurable issues. So it can treat it as a disability, and we can call it as a specially able persons. In that case, in interaction with barriers hinders their full and effective participation in the society and equally with others. So the person with disability having high support needs, a persons with a benchmark disability who needs high support. The disability refers to individuals with benchmark disability of 40% or more require intensive support for daily activities, decision making, assessing facilities, and participating in various areas of life. So barriers to inclusion. What are the barriers to inclusions? Level differences. So earlier days in the railway stations, we found only staircases. That are the barriers for specially able persons which cannot access these platform areas. So they can be accessible with the help of a persons who are going to be lifting them to the platforms or overcrowding areas. So in overcrowding areas, this is the case of metro locals in the Mumbai. That disabled, specially able persons cannot get accessed with these locals. Then see, similarly, these locals and the platform heights which cannot be accessible. So this can be overcome with the very effective solutions of providing a ramp, automatic ramp. So wheelchair persons can be accessible to the platform or from the platform to the locals. Then uneven surfaces. These are the uneven surfaces means road surface and platform height. There, the curbs are not to be accessible earlier times, as it cannot be accessed with the help of wheelchairs, as it is having a raised platform from the road heights. Then incentive placements of boulevards. So these can be the boulevards, and it is not to be fixed, considering the wheelchair size. So the persons which is having with wheelchairs cannot be accessible from this place to another place. Then what are the barriers to inclusions? Denial of services means overcrowding areas, having a person with wheelchairs, exclusion of children's in parks due to lacking facilities, because as the children is having disabilities means and want to play in the parks, but there is no facilities for her, um, for wheelchair persons can be played in that areas. Then exclusion of persons with disabilities from the employment also, because these disabled persons cannot having employment opportunities due to their disabilities. So the broader the categories of barriers, we can be categorized into two barriers, that is tangible barriers and intangible barriers. So the tangible barriers can be the visible barriers, uh, like approachable entrances for wheelchairs can be considered as a ramps for wheelchairs. And intangible barriers means hidden barriers, like uh, due to no provision of signages, the persons are finding where are the accessible routes through which he can be accessible sorry to the building. Then what are the barriers to inclusion? Disability results from faulty interaction between persons with impairment and attitudinal and environmental barriers that hinders their full and effective participation in the society on an equal basis with others. So the types of barriers: physical barriers, psychological barriers can be considered, social barriers, and institutional barriers. Psychological barriers means it can be the normal person can treat this is a disabled person having some disabilities, and can be differ from a normal person. So that uh, lower down his moral. And social barrier is also the persons which having another then institutional barriers also. Then physical barrier, the structural obstacles in new natural or man-made environments that prevent or block mobility or access. So the photograph shows the wheelchair is not accessible, as there is no ramps and to access the building for a wheelchair person. The structural obstacles in natural or man-made environments that prevents or block the mobility. As we discussed, the person which is having a wheelchair cannot be accessible the building due to the no provision of ramps. Then physical barriers to access faced by people with mobility or sensory impairment while using the physical environment on regular basis, like uneven footpaths. So these the conditions where the paving blocks are moved due to uneven settlement of surfaces. So that the space cannot be accessible a person which is having with a person with wheelchair. So it is unsafe street crossing, inaccessible toilets, absence of tactile guidance. Tactile guidance that I already told, the railway station which is having a guiding tiles. dotted tiles and lines tiles, that is the guided tactiles. So it gives access for blind persons. Then lack of sitting and public amenities. Then physical barriers. See, already the bus having entrance with no ramp provision. So nowadays these buses can be altered with the provision of ramps. It can be automated ramps and accessible from the footpaths with curbs. Then effect of physical barrier. There are direct and indirect effects of these barriers on people with reduced abilities. Direct effect are varying degrees of discomfort, dissatisfaction, annoyance, pain, or even injury. Indirect effects, they can extend to social exclusion, disempowerment, stigmatization, negative psychological consequences for the individual concerned. So, did you see people who are fuzzy or gloomy or are unable to make decisions, remain constantly worried or frightened or under pressure, have a feeling of being mentally drained out or remain tense and are unable to relax? So they can experience a psychological and physical anxiety. So this can be the disability, and it often panic in particular places or situations. So they are exposed to psychological stress. So this can be the disability, because nowadays the people which everyone is engaged in mobile activity. So that activities can disturbs your social life. So and creates anxiety or psychological stresses. So this can be considered as a disability. Then the psychological stress, a doctors interpret that stress is a sum of physical and mental responses to an unacceptable disparity between real or imagined personal experience and personal expectations. But an architect interpret it is the outcome of faulty interaction between the person and environment. So stress may be described in terms of specific characteristics uh, of means specific characteristics of disturbing environment which give rise to a stress reaction in the users, thereby straining an individual. So a built environment which is difficult or unmanageable generates psychological stress. And if an individual is regularly exposed to that stress, there is a permanent negative effect of the same on a building. For an example, suppose like an institutional building which is accessible only with the help of steps. There is no provision of ramp, lifts, etc., etc. So, and at that place, a person which is having a disability is came to that particular building and he cannot be accessed due to no provisions of such due to no provisions of such placements amenities. So then there is a effect that can be called as a psychological effect, and that can be converted into a stress. So so the psychological barriers: fear of being left out, bullied, harassed, or fear of physical injuries, accidents, unfamiliarity with system or place, lack of confidence, lack of confidence in systems, in self, disturb on fellow citizens. So, see, the picture shows the lack of wayfinding and other informations. And why this happens? Due to the no provisions of signages, particularly in public areas. So it is very necessary to provide signages for these persons. Then lack of human assistance. The children is having his carriage, and there is no assistance for that particular girl. So it can affect the psychological barrier. Then institutional barriers may be mainly tangible, intangible, uh, are policies, procedures. So there may not be barriers. It cannot may not be the permanent disabilities, but maybe in the part of policies, procedures, or situations that systematically disadvantage certain group of people. You know, he suppose some group of students are backbenchers, and they are having that particular activity. So we always treat them as they are the backbenchers, and they are the backbenchers, and they are not good in studies. So that can creates the disability. Means psychological disabilities. So discriminatory law, humanitarians, policies or guidelines or emergency procedures are example of institutional barriers that systematically discriminate or disadvantage certain group of people. So institutional barriers, mainly intangible, that inadequate training of staff to cater to vulnerable group in public spaces. Daniel, to employment due to faulty HR policy of companies, education in normal schools, lack of help desk in public spaces, poor crowd management, lack of passive and active surveillances, lack of disaster management strategies. This can be the considered in that particular bar- institutional barrier, with special considerations to VG, mock drills, or rescue strategy. Lack of maintenance leading to physical barriers. So, no periodic accessibility assessment and review policy for built environment, that is public spaces. So, no policy to create equal opportunity cell or accessibility services, offices with organizations dealing with public spaces. Social barriers, the phenomena whereby an individual is socially rejected due to an attitude attribute which is deeply discredited by his or her society. That the Goffman was said in 1963 is known as the being stigmatized. This particular theory specialized by Goffman in 1963 called as a stigmatization. So it can be creation of low self-esteem due to stigmatization and social rejections, lack of supportive environment, belonging to the minority community, physical incompetence and poor performance, low overall rating of oneself as a person, withdrawal. So taking withdrawal from that activity particularly. So it can be considered in a physically challenged person in the society. So barriers to accessibility, like inbuilt infrastructures. So these shop cannot be accessible as there is no possible way to reach out these shops by a wheelchair persons. ठीक है ना? So that can be inaccessible. Likely this post office, there is no provision of ramp, only steps. So this cannot be accessible. See, there is a provision of RAM, but the payment is undulated. So that these can be the possibilities where the special persons cannot access the particular activity. So these are the barriers for them. These can be considered as a barriers for them. So we have to think for that particular situations. See, also this is the restaurant where the person cannot reach in that particular spaces. So these are the built infrastructure barriers. Then using different facilities in the building. So see, Due to the provision of steps, the persons cannot be reach out the particular building. Likewise, level differences in entry exit. See, there is a lift, but the lift door is provided very small, and that cannot be accessible with the wheelchair person, because whenever we are going to be provide the facilities for wheelchair person, the minimum width of that particular door should be 1200 mm. So, and there is not possibility to cater the wheelchair person inside the lift. Then again, inaccessible toilets, inaccessible urinals, basin also. mm, Then barriers to indoor environment. See, I already discussed the level differences. Barrier in pavement. The curb height is not meeting to the roadside. So that's why a person requires to cater from road level to footpath level. Then against the boulevard, there is no accessibility for the persons who can enter through these boulevards, because due to the low space in between the boulevards. Inaccessible public toilets, inaccessible market. See, this is the pavement which is provided to cater the persons from one place to another person space. But due to this pavement, a blind person cannot access uh, easily to the building, because there is no provision of tactile flooring. So it is the requirement to provide a tactile flooring, that is the guiding tactiles, means a tile which is having a lines on the tiles, that is guiding tactiles, and dotted tactiles that gives to stop or take a pause for turning. So these are the guiding tactiles which can be provided nowadays in public areas. Then in transportation, railway stations, absence of guiding tactiles. See, there is no guiding tactiles. So that's why she cannot get how to reach out to the station. Lack of elevators. There is no provision of elevators. So that's why one cannot cross one platform to another platform. Then inaccessible waiting room at stations due to the no provision of ramps. Inaccessible notice board at stations due to the no braille provisions. These are the uh, possibilities, and it can create a barrier for them. Then inaccessible coaches, likewise, uh, we can observe the disabled coach for the disabled persons, but it cannot be accessible as it can be raised from that particular railway platforms. So these can create a barriers for them. So we have to think for that. Inaccessible public toilets. Why in the railway coaches these toilets cannot be accessible by the special persons, due to the no grab bars are to be provided, because we can um, we can having very vibrations during the travel in the trains. So that's why it can creates a injury for them. So there is a requirement of grab bars. Okay. Unsafe road crossing, bus stops, as there is no guidance for them. Then in information and communication, signages without braille. So there are signages, but blind person cannot be identified where is the hall, ticket counter, exit, entry, washrooms, etc. Road signage with accessible features. So these are the road signages which are provided behind a tree. So one cannot be easily accessible. It can be provided towards in front of a or alongside a footpath, not to the roadside. Inaccessible TV programs. due to the low coverage or any other. Then illegible application forms. Sometimes we observed there is no particular guidelines how to fill any particular website application forms in accessible websites also. So changing approaches toward disability. So we have to change our approach that particular disabled persons. So we have to think positively. These persons are the special persons, and we have to think for that particular. So there may be a medical model and social model. So medical model of disability, it creates a problems, and that problems are leads to individual problems. So traditional view, disability is caused by physical, sensory, mental, or impairment. And social barriers, there are m number of barriers, and a person's it cannot be free from the barriers. There may be an environment, inaccessible environment, buildings, languages, services, communication, attitudes, prejudiced attitude, stereotyping, discrimination, and organization, inflexible organization. So medical model versus social model. So disability as a problem located in the individual, and disability as a social construct caused by barriers in the environment. Viewpoint, the person is impaired and needs to be cured, fixed, or rehabilitated. And society disable people through inaccessible infrastructure, attitudes, and systematic neglect. So it can be design implications are often standardized for the average person. Accommodation like ramps are added lateral as spatial provisions need for adaptations. So as this is the staircases, and the staircase cannot be replaced with the ramps, but it can be provided with the help of it can be accessible with the help of provision of elevators, means lift can be the options. So limitations promotes exclusive by treating disability as an exceptions to the norms, advocates for universal design. So nowadays, why there is a requirement of universal design? These peoples are the special people, and we have to think for them. So there is a need of universal design. That's why I choose this topic. Because every time we are hearing there is a requirement of ramps, like in our institutions also. AICT demands, uh, is there any accessibility for disabled persons? There is a requirement of ramps, there is a requirement of elevators, there is a requirement of physically special toilets also. So these are the demands from the society, and we have to think for that. So this is the universal design is very crucial, and we have to think for that. So environmental usable by all people to greatest extent possible without the need for adaptation. Strength promotes inclusion by removing environmental and attitudinal barriers. So disease or disorder, intrinsic situation, impairment, exteriorized disability, objectified, and handicapped, socialized. So the World Health Organization in 1980 introduced these framework, emphasizes the impact of health conditions on daily life, roles, and social participations. So what are the framework in three tiers? ICIDH term impairment, meaning loss or abnormality of body structure or functions, organs due to accidents. Its level is organ and system. Example, blindness, hearing, loss of any body part. And disability, functional limitations due to impairment, individual. it is an individual disability. Examples: cannot walk, cannot speak easily or clearly. Then handicapped, disadvantages in fulfilling social roles due to disability. Societal, cannot access public buildings and education. Then what can be the solutions? Reasonable accommodations. In auditoriums, there can be the accessibility for these persons who can enter with their wheelchairs. So involves making adjustments or modifications to a specific job. We can increase the door width so that the wheelchair persons can be easily accommodated in the auditorium, or environment to enable an individual with a disability to perform essential functions or access a facility. What is the main focus? Addressing specific needs in existing environment, individual assessments and adjustments. Then visitable, the entrance can be easily visible. Uh, Provision of signages so that it can be identified that it is a uh, toilet for specially able persons and disabled or disabled persons. Then the vegetable designs are intended to be accessible and usable by people with a range of mobility needs, use of wheelchairs, walkers, or other assistive devices. Then barrier free. So this can be the design solutions for the disabled toilet, which is having these are the grab bars. So through grab bar, he can easily enter the door width should be the minimum 1800 by 1800 wheelchair turning space. So we have to think for the door openings also. Then these are the grab bars through which the persons can access the uh, water closets. Then again, there is a grab bar, vertical grab bar for accessing the basin area. This is the grab bar for accessing uh, bathroom spaces or wash area, shower area. These are the tactile guidings, pods. So these tactiles can ensures to pause and take a turn. These are the ramps. These are the parking for wheelchair persons. Universal design. So this can be the universal design. The lift door, elevated door having more width so that it accommodates the wheelchair. These are the uh, guiding tactiles. So these lining indicates the way we have to travel. This is called as a guiding tactile, and these tactiles are the pause tactiles, which indicates to take pause and take a turn for guiding tactiles towards guiding tactiles. So the universal design, also known as the design for all, aims to make products and environments usable by people of all ages and abilities without the need for adaptations or specialized design. See, this can be the toilet, shower area, wash area. So these are the grab bars. So through grab bars, it can be easily accessible. These are the passage. So the level of access to provide reasonable accommodation, a tailored approach to address specific needs in existing spaces. This is the summary. Then visitable focuses on a broader level of accessibility for visiting. Barrier free eliminates physical obstacles for access, and universal design, a broader, more inclusive approach to designing for all users from the beginning. So, being an architect, we can provide solutions for such buildings that cannot be accessible with no provisions. But considering these universal design solutions, we can provide the access for the special peoples who can cater or accommodate into the building. So that may be the solutions. Nowadays, we can find the buses are very intrinsically designed as the wheelchair persons can be easily accommodated in city buses. Huh? We are talking about city buses. Then roadside assistance. So we can observe the curves, means curves of the footpaths are having the slopes which are matching to the road level, so that a person which is traveling through his car and have to be access a building which is to be accessed with the help of footpaths. Though that footpath bends, the footpath curve is provided a ramp and can be easily accessible from roadside to the footpath side. Also, boulevards are to be provided for um, re- restricted entry for vehicles. But that boulevards are provided in such a manner the wheelchair persons can easily access that particular areas. So these can be the solutions, and n number of solutions are there. We can observe while designing a road, there is a provision of maiden for transferring one place to another place. Also, in metro cities, nowadays there are provision of cycle tracks also. Wheelchair tracks are separately designed. Then RBT, BRTS bus routes are also separately designed to cater the special publics. These are the solutions we can consider uh, in the universal design solutions. So thank you very much for patiently listening. Thank you. If you have some queries, you can send me on this email ar underscore anandpande@redmail.com. Thank you very much.